Okay, so we're going to pick up on 110B.5, which is where we kind of left off yesterday. I'm going to kind of just go back and review on developers real quick because that was one of the last things that we did before we signed off yesterday. So United States developers are measured in volumes. Okay, so you're going to find, 10, 20, 30, and 40, while in Europe, they're measured by percentages, which are like 3, 6, 9, and 12. Those are standard. Okay. A 10% or a 10 volume is a 3%, a 20 volume is a 6%, a 30 volume is a 9%, and a 40 volume is a 12%. And those are just like standard developers. Okay. So a 10 volume or a 3% is used mostly for deposit and very slight amount of lift. A 3% to like a 5%, a 3 volume to like a 5 volume is used for like demi-permanent hair colors. Because remember, the demi-permanent hair colors will have their own developer with them, and it's usually a very low-level developer. 20 volume is a 6%. It'll give you up to 2 levels of lift. It's perfect for gray coverage. And that is like your standard go-to developer. If you don't know what to use, go with 20 volume. Okay, 30 volume is a 9%. It lifts up to 3 levels. That one is a good one to use when you're lightening hair. And then 40 to volume is a 12%. It lifts up to 4 levels. And it's when it's commonly used with like a high lift tent, which would be those like a levels 11 and a levels 12. One thing about 40 volume though, sometimes it's really quick acting and it's a little bit stronger. So you may get better lifting going a little bit slower when you're lifting things out. You never want to mix color in anything other than glass or plastic. You never want to use a metal bowl because it causes the formulation to weaken. So that we always want to use a plastic or a glass bowl. Okay, so those are some things about developing.
A ceramic bowl.
Yeah, that would work because it's kind of like glass, just not metal. We don't want to use any metal. Okay. So I'm going to show you something that I thought was kind of interesting, some other uses that they have for hydrogen peroxide. Not that it's, where is it at? Can I not get it? Well, I guess I can't pull it up on that, but I can tell you this. Oh, maybe I have to do that. Okay, let me try this.
Buenos días.
Hola. Aha, I had to do that. Okay, I figured it out. Okay, so here's some other uses for hydrogen peroxide that I thought was kind of interesting. Now, the stuff that we buy in the brown bottles in the stores, that's been used for minor scrapes and first aid, let's say. Let's see what I say. So chemical process is H2O2. It's a chemical compound. It's a combination of hydrogen and water. So it is a antiseptic. It comes in different potencies, which we already talked about, right? A food grade hydrogen peroxide. And most stores carry the 3% solution packaged in a signature brown bottle. So if you're going to go buy that 3%, solution, basically you're getting like the 10 volume to put on your hand or on your cuts. So here's what they say about this. You can remove armpit stains with that, right? So how do you do that? You erase them by creating a solution of 1 part dishwashing liquid and 2 parts hydrogen peroxide, and then applying it to the stain for about an hour. This is what they're saying here. Wash in cold water, dry, and then wear. If you have a tough stain, it may also require scrubbing with baking soda. Okay, if you want to clean your dishwasher, you can spray hydrogen peroxide directly to the appliance, let it sit a bit, and then wipe it out. Or you can create a cleaning balm with hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, and essential oil. Mix them and use an ice cream scoop to scoop out round balls. Let them dry overnight. Place the balm at the bottom of the dishwasher, then mix white vinegar and liquid dishwashing detergent in a glass of ceramic bowl and place it in the top of the dishwasher. When you run a cycle with the balm along with the vinegar and the detergent, the peroxide will whiten and clean all appliances while the baking soda scrubs it and the oil provides a fresh scent. So if your dishwasher is dirty, there you go. It's great for whitening your nails and grout. So you combine it with 1 part hydrogen peroxide and 2 parts baking soda. Rub the paste on your nails and let sit for 2 to 3 minutes, then rinse away. Actually, we have been using that for years, so that does work. You can use it for whitening grout by pouring the hydrogen peroxide straight on the grout or making a paste with baking soda and scrub it away. Make a mouthwash. Have you ever tried hydrogen peroxide as a mouthwash? I tried it one time. It's like you foam at the mouth. Okay, it's great for dental hygiene. Doesn't taste very good though, but it kills germs. Making sure to dilute first half water and half hydrogen peroxide. Swish in your mouth for 1 minute and spit it out. Don't swallow it. It's an
I'm gonna try that right now.
benefit of this mouthwash. It whitens your teeth. And I've seen that like on Pinterest and stuff where they talk about brushing your teeth with baking soda and hydrogen peroxide to whiten them. So I have seen that. So you can also use it to disinfect and clean your toothbrush and other dental appliances such as retainers and mouth guards. You can boost your laundry, your whites. You add a cup of hydrogen peroxide to your washing machine when doing a load of whites. The peroxide will deodorize the clothes and remove the stains. You can pour it directly on stains, but do a color fast test first if you're applying it to darker clothing. You can kill mold and mildew with it. Hydrogen peroxide kills bacteria, but it dispatches fungus such as mold and mildew. So grab a spray bottle of hydrogen and spray your bathroom fixtures, floors, walls, humidifier, dehumidifier, even your shower curtain. That fizzy sound will tell you that it's working. Gardeners, hydrogen peroxide is the best substance for their plants. It's an all-purpose liquid to help boost pest control, prevent infection on damaged trees, kill foliage fungus, and combat root rot, as well as improve plant growth. The extra oxygen causes the root to absorb more nutrients. For pest control or growth, add 1 teaspoon to 1 cup of water in a spray bottle and mist the plant to combat root rot or fungal infections. Use 1 tablespoon per cup of water. And it says you can keep your food fresher. Spraying salad greens with a little H2O2, which is the chemical symbol of hydrogen peroxide. Then returning them to the refrigerator will thwart sogginess for several days. Fruits and veggies can also be spritzed or bathed in a hydrogen peroxide solution to keep them fresher longer. Just be sure to rinse thoroughly before eating. Okay, so this is a note, right? Regular strength for hydrogen peroxide, 3 to 5% is okay to ingest, but higher strengths, 10% or more, can be toxic if swallowed. So make sure you know that. So this guy invented hydrogen peroxide. In 1818, his name was Louis Jacques Thenard. He called his creation oxygenated water because it's water with an extra oxygen atom. And that's how we got our hydrogen peroxide. So I thought that was just a little bit interesting, kind of, because I knew about the dental stuff, but I didn't know you could add it to your wash. I may have to try that too, just to see how like socks and stuff come out. Because yeah, kids always do get those gross socks. So let me go back here now and switch over to pull up the slides. Okay, there we go. Got the slides. All right, so those are some things about the peroxides that we're going to be working with anyway. All right, so now we're going to talk about these colors called fillers, concentrators, and dabbers. Okay, so when they talk about fillers, one thing that you have to remember is there are different types of fillers. You have a color filler and you have a porosity filler. You could use both potentially in someone's service, just depending on what you're trying to do. So what we're going to talk about with the porosity filler or the conditioning filler. Let's just say hair is not even in porosity. So if you think about the strand of hair as like a straight with potholes, what's happening is the porosity filler is going in and filling in those potholes. It fills in those intracellular spaces so that you have a nice even surface to apply the color to. So it helps it take a little bit more evenly along the strand. And that's what a porosity filler does. With a color filler, what that does is it lets you deposit base color in one application. So if we look at the picture here, this girl has lightened her hair. When she has lightened her hair, she's taken out all that warmth. All that warm hair color is gone, right? You don't have any of the golds. You don't have any of the reds. You don't have any of the oranges or anything like that in her hair anymore because it's been taken out by being lightened. So if she was just to take that red hair color and put it right on top of that blonde hair, it would fade out really fast and it would look sort of like really faded. It wouldn't be a very pretty color at all. So by adding the color filler application, what you're doing is you're like putting back into the hair the color that has been taken out to get the color that you want. So if you remember when we were talking about the different hair colors and we were saying like the lighter colors have more yellow, the medium colors have more orange, and the darker colors have more red. If I was to take someone's hair that is that blonde and they wanted to go back to their natural hair color, I would have to put that warmth back into the hair. So I would have to use like a gold, a red, a copper, or a red to get her hair back to the natural brown because she's missing that warmth. So that's what a color filler does. You can use different colors also when you're using a color filler, but you use it before you do the actual color, or you mix it into your color depending on how many levels you have to go back. If you're going like 6 levels, you do it before the color. If you're only going like 3 levels or 4 levels, you can add it to your actual color formulation and it makes a difference. Now, in this particular example here with this girl, she wanted dramatic red. So they did it before so you could get a lot more red to it. If you wanted to go back to like a brown, you could probably just put some of that red in your brown hair color and get it more of a brown. So there's always a question with the hair being so porous, or if the hair is a little bit more damaged, if the color is going to hold or if it's just going to wash right out. And so that's what the idea of these fillers are doing, is giving you more of an even surface so that these colors can take a little bit, have more staying power. Okay, so it's going to give you more of a uniform color when you return hair to a darker color, or which is known as a tint back. It's going to deposit color on hair that is faded. It's going to help hold the color. It will prevent off-looking color results, and it prevents a very dull color-looking appearance. So extremely damaged hair may absorb more hair color than is wanted, but it also has a really hard time on holding onto those color molecules, because if your hair is damaged and your hair is that light, there's not that many color molecules in the hair. Remember, darker hair has more tightly densed pigment, where lighter hair has more spread out pigment. So if your hair is lighter and it's damaged, that pigment is going to be very spread out. So color has a hard time, especially a darker color that has more molecules and staying, because there's no way for it to hold on to that. So fillers they kind of take a minute to learn how they work, but you have to remember what colors hair have. You have to know that color wheel and know what's going to cancel out or what's going to add to it. That's why it's really important. This right here, this is known as a tint back. This is known as like a specialty color. So this particular type of color application is going to cost a lot more than just covering gray hair, because there's a lot more involved in this to get that done. Okay, so now we have these things that are concentrators, intensifiers, and drabbers. These come in a lot of different colors. You have like yellow, red, blue, orange, violet, green. Sometimes it's called silver, sometimes it's called pearl, and an ash. Usually there's about six to eight colors that these come in. So what they're used for is they're very concentrated pigment. And so what it's used for is to brighten the tones or to dull unwanted tones or to neutralize unwanted tones. So intensifiers are used to brighten. Drabbers are used to neutralize. So for an example, if someone wanted bright red hair and we just put the brightest red we have, but it's not bright enough for them, you can add the intensifier to make it more bright. Usually the brightening intensifiers are going to be in the warm tones because the drabbers are going to be in the cooler tones, and those are going to be used to neutralize the unwanted tones. So the intensifiers do just that. They intensify the hair color. They're always pretty much in the warm tones. I don't think I've ever seen any that aren't in warm tones, actually. Then we have the drabbers that are used to neutralize unwanted tones. So if someone's hair always turns out too red and they don't want it red, they want it more cool, you can add the green drabber to the color and it will help bring that redness down a little bit. Now the ratio that you mix those, that's going to have to be determined either by what the manufacturer suggests, because some of them say like you can mix up to half of your formula. Some of them say, you know, that if you want just a slight subtle mixture, you use a ribbon inch. And a ribbon inch is on the bottom of the tent bowl, how they have those lines that go across it. That's like the ribbon inch. So some of them say that you can put like up to 9 of those in there. So it's really just knowing what the manufacturer recommends on that, on how that's going to work. So adding the intensifiers to your formula, they're going to brighten them, make them more intense, and adding the drabbers to the formula are going to neutralize some of those unwanted tones. So that's why they're usually cool colors, because cool colors are always found directly across the color wheel from the warm colors, and the cool colors will neutralize those out. So you could probably find a green, a teal, well, pearl is usually kind of a teal color or a silverish color. You might find some that are even more of like a blue green or a blue violet to cut out like the orange and the red tones, or you could cut out like the yellow and the orange tones, you know, just depending on what they have or what they don't have. So lighteners, ammonia and other alkalis are used to activate or raise hydrogen's peroxide. So just because you're using like a 30 volume of hydrogen peroxide that it says that it lifts 3 levels, the bleach itself is going to boost that up, and it can lift up to 8 levels. So the thing you have to really do is know your lightener, of course. Lightening or bleaching is one of the oldest methods around. Okay, lighteners are also known as bleach, but they do have other products that will lighten hair that are not bleach, but most of them are a bleached base. Okay, so you need ammonia and peroxide to facilitate that oxygen or oxidation. There you go, oxidation process. So the release of oxygen from the peroxide chemically alters the other molecules, changing the melanosomes, which, right, well, those are our pigments, to like diffuse it. So it makes it lighter. So it's used to decolorize or diffuse the pigment. That's what bleaches do, or lighteners. So someone asks you like, what's the action of a bleach or a lightener? It is to diffuse or decolorize the natural pigment. That's the answer to that. Okay. It always needs oxygen. So you always have to have that oxidation effect that's taking place with it. Then that's what occurs to the melanin of the natural color of the hair, is that it's removing it. So what do you need to know about the bleaches? Well, how do they come? They usually come in powder. Some of them are in creams. Some of them are made for on the scalp. Some of them are made for off the scalp. Some of them will lift Some of them do both. They're made for on the scalp and off the scalp. Some of them will lift like 1 to 4 levels. Some lift 1 to 6. Some lift 1 to 8. Some, it depends on how you mix it, on if you're going to get 4 levels of lift or 8 levels of lift. So again, it's, you have to know your product. I believe that the bleach right here, even though it's like not brand showing, I believe that's Wella. And that's one of my favorite bleaches, by the way, as well. That's what we use here at school too. It's really good. What you want to do with this now is know the bleach. So on the scalp bleach means that you can put it directly on the scalp. Okay. Now they used to make packages, and like you could buy this package over here, and this was strictly for on the scalp. And then you could buy this package over here, and this was strictly for off the scalp. But I haven't been able to find one that's made specifically for on the scalp, just on the scalp. What I've been finding lately are these ones that are dual usage. So what this is saying here now is the Wella became dual usage. You see this little jar or this little bottle right here that looks kind of purplish or blackish colored right here. This is known as oil. What this oil is for is it is a oil lightener type of a thing. It gives it a little bit of extra buffering for the scalp, so it makes it safer for on the scalp use. And you can buy that particular just like on the scalp oil stuff. It really helps with the burning, because this stuff can burn, right? If it touches the scalp, I mean, it's peroxide and bleach, it can burn, right?
How exactly do you apply that before or after the application?
You mix it into your bleach.
Oh, okay, got it.
So let's say my mixing ratio is 1 part bleach to 1.5 parts developer, because that's my favorite mixing ratio right there. You know, so it'd be like 1 scoop of bleach to 1.5 scoops of developer. Let's say I'm using on the scalp, right? I can put a 20 volume because the scalp has more heat, so it's going to process faster than the ends. So I can use a 20 volume, and then I can mix. I forgot just exactly what the mixing ratio is on that bleach also. I want to say it's like a tablespoon or something. There's lines on the bottle that you follow for your mixing. So I'll just, you know, pour up to that line into my formulation and mix it all together. The oil in there does make it a little bit more, it's almost like a little bit, not really thicker, but it kind of changes it to more like a gel instead of a cream. So I could just apply that to the scalp, and it just adds that buffer to protect the scalp. Usually if we're doing on the scalp application, 20 volume developer is the highest that's recommended because of the fact that it can burn. That's why people like those additives to them, the oils, so that because it just helps add that buffer to the scalp. And if you're sensitive, you know, that's a good one. If you've washed your hair that morning, yeah, you probably need to add that to it if you're getting your hair bleached on the scalp. It's advisable not to wash your hair that day. If they can go 2 days, it's the best way to do it, just to get a little bit of extra of your own natural oils built up, just to add that buffer onto the scalp. So usually on the scalp bleaches are a little bit milder on the pH scale, but you have that heat zone coming off of your scalp so that you're going to be able to use a lower volume and still get the same amount of lift when it comes to that. Cream lighteners are real popular because they seem to add a little bit more conditioner to them, and they're gentler in this heavy, creamy consistency. That would be that tube that's there next to it. These cream lighteners, they are usually for the scalp, and you just add it directly to the scalp itself. You can actually add some of the cream lightener into the powder, but most of the time that's not necessary. That's just if you need that really extra boosty thing, but most of the time you don't need to do that. And usually these cream lighteners or paste, they kind of are like whipped cream. They're kind of thick like that. So again, you have to know your product, because some of them you may not be able to mix together. So you have to know your product. If you're using it off the scalp, That's a whole nother, you know, ball game there. But these little packages right here, these are known as activators. And these activators you can mix into the bleaches itself, and it just kind of gives it a little bit extra boost also if you're having a hard time getting someone's hair lightened. You can add it to the oil bleach, or you can add it to the paste, and it just like boosts the strength a little bit. Now it does make the pH go up a little bit higher. So again, that you have to watch out for the type of hair that you're working on, because it could be a little bit more damaging if you increase that pH there. And it also makes it work a little bit faster. So your application technique will need to be a little bit quicker if you're going to do it like that with the activators. Okay, so on the scalp bleaches, remember, you know, it's on the scalp. So you're touching the skin there. So we do have to do a thorough checking it out and making sure that there's no scratches or anything before we even start this. So that's really, really important. Okay, if we go to off the scalp bleaches, which are the powders, these have no added oils in them or creams. So this is why we don't really want to use them on the scalp, because it can irritate, cause burning, and even can cause blisters. These are usually used for things like, you know, highlighting, foil weaving, you know, different things like that. So what you do is you just mix them like, you know, 1 part developer to 1.5 parts. 1 part powder to 1.5 parts developer, and you just mix it up till it's creamy and it goes. Usually the consistency on this is kind of like a sour cream mixture. That's kind of like nice and smooth and creamy like sour cream, so that you can use that. Some powdered lighteners have a pigment in them. A lot of times you find them that are kind of purple, or you might find some that are almost blue, and it just helps to diffuse some of the unwanted tones in there. Sometimes they have some that you can actually put pigment in there. So you could put a green, blue, and a violet pigment in the actual bleach itself to help cut out some of those unwanted warm tones. So it's just knowing your product, right? We just want to know the product and know what we're using. But just know that we have those 2 types. Oh, there's your on the scalp lightener, off the scalp lightener, which I just talked about that. Okay. So when we start to decolorize someone's hair, the thing we have to know about are these degrees of decolorization. There's 10. Okay. So we never want to go to someone's hair that looks white, because it's be over lightened then. The white will almost make it look transparent, you know, on the ends, like you might not be able to see the ends of the hair. So when we're going through someone that starts with like a dark brown hair color, what happens is that this bleach has to diffuse or decolorize the eumelanin and pheomelanin pigments. And so it has to go through all of these degrees, thinking that, you know, we've got 10 hair colors, right? We've got black all the way to palest yellow. Depending on how much red or how much orange or how much whatever colors in the hair, these are what you're going to end up with. If you start with black hair, the first color you're going to see is a dark brown. Well, it's not going to be like a nice dark brown. It's going to be sort of like a reddish dark brown. Then you're going to have a red brown, a red orange, an orange, a yellow orange, a yellow, a pale yellow, and a palest yellow. Now, most of the time when you put someone's hair in foil and you look at it that's really dark, you're going to start seeing hair within like the red orange color. That's what you're going to start seeing. It's going to be sort of a reddish orange, yellow orange, and they're not very pretty. This is why we have to get it as light as we can. So we're talking like big bird yellow. You know, that's if your hair is really dark, you're going to end up with a big bird yellow in order to be able to put a toner over the top of it to get a nice color. If we're talking about just bleaching it out to a color that looks good without having to add a toner to it, that yellow orange should kind of look like about a 14 karat gold. And then, you know, the pale yellow should sort of look like the inside of a banana peel. If you're looking big bird yellow, you need to put something over the top of it. If you're looking too red or too orange, then if you try to put another color over the top of that, you're going to end up seeing a lot of that red and a lot of that orange come through. So if you're decolorizing someone to get them to a blonde hair color, you need to get them to at least a level 7, which is going to be an orange, right? It's going to be like an orange yellow color before you can add another color over the top of that to make it look blonde. If you're trying to bleach someone's hair out to put like a purple or, you know, some other color, purple or blue over the top of that, you need to at least get to the yellow orange color, because by putting the other colors over the top of it, that warmth is going to come through. So you try to get someone with blue, you bleach them to yellow. What happens when you mix yellow and blue together? You get green. So are you going to see a good blue, or are you going to see green? Probably going to see blue for a few shampoos, and then it's going to look green after that, or it'll be teal and then it'll go to green, because yellow and blue make green. So all of this comes into having to do the hair color. But remember those 10 degrees of decolorization, because that's one that's a little bit different too. So then we have these things called toners. Okay, so when you talk about toners, they're usually pastel based, because they're used to cut the warmth off of pre-lightened hair. Right, so you pre-lighten someone's hair, you get the yellow, you use something that has a purple or a violet, you know, toner to it or base to it, and it's going to add that coolness to the pre-lightened hair. Toners will deposit color and neutralize unwanted tones that remained after pre-lightening, such as brassy or yellows, right? So this is where the color wheel comes into your big portion here. Now, some of these hair colors, when it comes to toners, manufacturers will pre-make toners. So you'll find them that they're called specifically toners. They'll all have a pastel base. They'll all be on the higher end of the levels. You might find some that have numbers on them, like a T18 or a T50. You know, again, you have to know your product and know what that means. But you can use a demi-permanent hair color as a toner, which would work really well. Or you can use a regular hair color as a toner, but that's not always recommended because of the amount of chemicals that are going to be put on that hair. So for instance, if you have a violet-based toner, you're going to put that, it'll be a light neutral blonde on pre-lightened yellow hair, because right across the color wheel from yellow is blue. We're going to get rid of that. So, or violet. So we're going to get rid of that. So the developers with the lighteners and the toners, you know, it's all going to be according to what the manufacturers say. Most toners that I've used, you mix 1.5 to 2 parts, like a 10 volume or a 20 volume, to 1 part of your toner. Toners usually take within about 5 to 20 minutes. So your application technique on this has got to be kind of fast, because the hair is already pre-lightened. It's already porous. It's going to suck that hair color up really fast. So we need to just really maybe do a test strand just to see, you know, what the right color is or how long it's going to take. A lot of toners do require a PD test just because of the fact that it has an aniline derivative in it. So again, check with the manufacturers, know the product that you're using. Okay, so if you are going to bleach someone's hair out and then put a toner over the top of it, that is known as a double process. Okay, double processes are really common when you're lightening, because, you know, a lot of people have darker hair and you have to cut out those unwanted tones. So just remember that that's something that's going to apply or going to take a while to do. Plus, you're going to get more money for it too. So when you're doing a double process, what you do is you decolorize or you lighten the hair to whatever degree of lightness you want to have. You're going to recolorize it or tone it by applying the color over the top of it. Now, a lot of times after you lighten the hair, it is recommended that you do a shampoo with no conditioner, towel dry that hair really good, maybe even blow dry it a little bit. Damp hair is okay, But soaking wet, freshly shampooed hair is not, because the hair is already in a porous state. It's already absorbed that water from the shampoo, and it's not going to take the color correctly because it already has enough water and moisture in it. So, lightly blow dry it to where it's kind of damp, but no conditioner, because conditioner will kind of seal that cuticle down and it makes it a little bit harder for the color to work. So while you're shampooing, that means you have to be really careful not to tangle up that hair. Okay, so you're recolorizing or you're toning the hair, it's going to allow you to see that whole contributing pigment that goes through there and all of the other colors that go with it. Again, you have to know your color wheel. Knowing the color wheel is going to be like your best friend. So there's your double processes: lighten the hair, go back through and tone it. So if we're going to figure out the formula to use, like now we know the products, now we know, what the different types of products do, how they work on the hair. Now we have to figure out our basic color formulation guideline. So there's 4 steps to figuring out what to use. We're going to analyze the hair. When we're analyzing the hair, what we're looking at is the existing level and the existing tone. Right? Are they 1 through 10? Are they gold? Are they gray? Are they brown? Do they have more than 1 in their hair? Because yeah, that happens a lot too. Okay. Then what we have to do is figure out their target color. Okay, so we have our existing level and we have our target color. Our target color is the color or what the client wants to be. And then we also have to look at the texture of the hair and the porosity of the hair. Okay, porosity is the number 1 thing that affects the way hair color takes, is porosity. So we're going to determine the desired color, level, and tone. We're going to determine the hair condition, texture, porosity, and then we choose the formula. Okay, so the way you figure out what the formula is by the existing tone and the desired tone. Okay, so that you're probably like, what the heck, right? How does that even work? So I'm gonna pull a couple things up right here and give you a, let's see. Let me stop this share right here. Got to figure out how to do it real quick. Let me stop that share. Let me come back to this share. Okay, so if we're going to write a color formulation, we're going to do an existing level. We're going to do a target color, and then we're going to do our developer strength. Are we going higher in our developer? Are we going lower in our developer? Or are we staying the same and just adding a tone? Okay. Then, do we have any gray that we have to worry about in our hair color? And do we have to worry about our underlying pigment, our natural contributing pigment, or our base tones? Because that's what our NCP is, all of that. So an example on a really easy color formulation is, let's say that this client is a level 5, right, which is a medium color, and they're like a neutral. They don't have any reds or golds or anything that you can see in their hair. It just looks pretty neutral. They don't want to go any lighter and they don't want to go any darker with their hair color. So they want to stay at the level 5, but they want to add red to their hair. So they want to be a 5R. Okay. So I'm not going any lighter, so I don't need to have a higher volume developer. I'm not going any darker, so I don't need to have a really low volume developer. I'm staying the same. And if you remember, I said that the most standard developer is 20 volume. So we're going to use 20 volume here. We don't have any gray that we have to worry about. And we don't have to worry about any of the natural contributing pigments or any of the other base colors, because we're going with red. It's warm in a level 5. Remember, our base color is sort of a red orange anyway, so we're good with that. The red's going to come through. So we don't have to worry about that either. So if the color that I'm using in my manufacturer says that I have to do equal parts developer and equal parts color. So if it's my mixing ratio, looks like that, which is 1 to 1. Then I'm going to do, let's say 1 ounce of 5R and 1 ounce of 20 volume. And that would be my color formulation. Okay, so that one is easy. There's some that aren't quite that easy, but you know, that gives you an idea. And I'm going to give you a worksheet tomorrow on some of the color formulations also that we're going to do. So it'll make it a little bit clearer. But this right here, this existing level, target level. Oh, great. What did I do with it? The existing level, the target level, the natural contributing pigment, this right here is a formulation that I use today. I mean, sometimes I have to go and write out a formulation like that just so I can figure it out, especially if I have to mix other things together. I have to mix, you know, if I'm mixing 2 or 3 colors, I need to know like what ratio I'm mixing and all that to get the color that the person wants. So it's a very standard color formulation. If this was mixing ratio was 1 to 1.5, then I would just mix this right here from 1 ounce of developer to 1.5 ounces of 20 volume. And if my mixing ratio was 1 to 2, it would be 1 ounce to 2 ounces of 20 volume. You're going to see the V's after the 10, 20, 30, 40 to let you know. So those are the different, these are the mixing ratios that you'll see on the packages. This over here is the formula that you'll use to get your color. And whether you mix 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 5 ounces, it's really just going to depend on the amount of hair that the person has, and that you're going to decide during your analysis, as well as how much to mix at one time. It's not recommended to mix more than a couple ounces at one time, because once you mix this color and it's sitting in your bowl, it's already starting to process. That oxidation is already starting to occur in the bowl. So this is why it's really important that you don't mix the color till you're ready to apply it. Like, you have to be ready to apply that color as soon as you mix it, because it starts the oxidation. So if you mix a lot of it and you're a little bit slower in your application time, you're going to end up with the color already being processed in the bowl and not processed on the hair. So that is pretty important there when it comes to mixing. So, but we'll talk about that more tomorrow when we start mixing other things. So here's some more examples here. You have a level 5 gold tone. They want to be a level 6 of red violet. So you're going to get a level 6, a cool red violet. So it'd probably be more of a violet red. And then your developer is going to be 20 volume. Right. And if you had to mix this according to your amount of hair, you know, if you have to even out a total of 1 ounce, you know, it'd be like half an ounce of red violet, half an ounce of 20 volume developer, if that's how the color was matched. So always follow your manufacturer's instructions for mixing ratios and developing times. Like I said, most of them are 1 or 1.5. 2 is usually for high lift. Okay, so here's a couple more here for you. The existing level and tone is a level 6 of a gold. They want to be a level 8 in a neutral. So to cut out the gold, which is yellow, You look across that color wheel, you find your violet. So you're going to go with a level 8 violet. And we're going to be using a 30 volume developer. Even though you're going 2 levels, you want to, when you get to the lighter tones, you want to have that little bit more of a pickup there. So they're going with a 3 level there, 30 volume. So if you were doing like 6 to 8, it's 2 levels. Technically you could use a 22, but it wouldn't be as bright as using a 30. Now, if we reverse this and we were going from the level 8 to the level 6, you could just go with the level 6 golden and go to a 20 volume because you want more deposit. When you're going lighter, you want a little bit more lift. So that's another reason for that 30 volume, just to get that little bit more lift to it. All right, let's check what we know. Permanent hair colors allow you to lift and deposit in one step. True. Hair colors mixed with hydrogen peroxide that are capable of both lifting natural pigment and depositing artificial pigment in one process are known as, I would say that would be permanent hair color. Junior, you better bring me some of those eggs tomorrow that you're making. All of us. As a general rule, a permanent hair color mixed with 20 volume developer will lift the hair how many levels? Right, we've got 20 volumes, so we're usually going at about 2 levels. The 2 forms of on the scalp lightener are oil and cream. When lightening hair, the hair goes through degrees of, when lightening the hair, goes through degrees of decolorization. True permanent colors, 1 to 2 levels, cream, and decolorization. Yeah. Remember, we're going to have a little quiz on this too, so help you remember. All right, so we have long-lasting, wait, where's the temporary? Okay. So remember, there's 2 main categories of hair color, oxidative and non-oxidative. When we get to the oxidative colors, we have our long-lasting semi-permanent or demi-permanent colors. Most people just call them demi. I never say long-lasting semi-permanent. That's too hard. We just say demi. Okay, so developers, they're used for depositing for the lower strength ones, and the higher ones are used for lifting color. Fillers, concentrators, intensifiers, and drabbers will add intensity to the color. They'll drab out or they'll tone down any unwanted tones, as well as help fill in any of the uneven surfaces of the hair. Lighteners can be applied directly to the scalp or off the scalp, depending on how you're using them and how they're made. And off the scalp is generally faster than on the scalp. When you're lightening, you're going to go through these 10 degrees of decolorization right here. Black, dark brown, dark red, brown, red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, and all of these here to get these 10 colors. Okay, so our basic color formulation guidelines is we're going to analyze existing hair color. We're going to identify the texture. We're going to identify the desired color, and then we're going to choose the products that we're going to be using. And that's it for this one. Now, let's see if you guys can figure this out.
Bring it on.
Huh?
Bring it on.
Okay. Get my pen. I dropped my screen pen here. All right. Let me go back to this. let me erase this. All right, so my existing level is a 4N. My target color is a 4G. What developer would I use?
20.
You could, yes. But would be the best one to use for right now? Because we're going from a natural to a gold. You think 20 would be the best one? I would probably go with 10, but you could use a 20. Okay, that would be one particular.
Wouldn't it go a little bit faster though, the process with 20 developer?
It could, but with a 10 volume, it's going to help those ends look a little bit less like muddier or a little bit less, it would just make them look a little bit more vibrant because ends are always going to have a little bit more, coloring to that. So colors, especially if it's longer hair. If it's shorter hair, you could just throw a 20 on there and it would be just fine. Okay, so colors are foundation for a business. Mastering how they work, expand your creative skills, and they make your clients more loyal to you, right? Color clients are, give them something else that they can't get somewhere else. So color is a good one. Let's try another one of these and see if you guys can figure this one out. Okay, so this client is a 4N and wants to go to a 7G. What volume of developer would I use? Three levels. So, but I'm going 3 levels. So this formula right here, I would do my 7G, and then I would probably add a gold intensifier. Because I am using 30 volume, that's gonna make the color look a little bit more dull, because I'm lifting 3 levels here. So I would add my 7G, I would probably do like, let's do 0.5 of an ounce. And then let's do like 0.25 of an ounce. And then we'll do 30 volume at 0.75 of an ounce, right? Because 25 and 50, 75. So I'll go 75 of an ounce on that. Or if you didn't want it so intense, you could change this 25 and make it like 15, right? If I was making this 15, so then I would have 65 of an ounce. So you just gotta do the math. Think of it as like cooking or like, a recipe. When you do this, it makes it easier to remember than trying to remember that like you're doing math. Because if I'm over here thinking I'm doing math, yeah, no, it's not going to work.
Ooh, anything involved with food, I'll remember.
Yeah, of course you will. Yeah, so a lot of times I do think of it like that. And instead of trying to measure it out, they have scales. And so they have color scales. You could just weigh it on a scale. Like I have a scale at the shop that measures in grams or ounces, depending on what I set it on. So if I'm just mixing up a little bit of color, it's easier to use grams. If I'm mixing up, a full bowl, it's easier to use ounces. So a lot of times it just depends on, how much you're mixing up. And some of the manufacturers do recommend you mix in grams, and some of them recommend that you mix in ounces. But for hair color purposes, 30 grams is an ounce. I know that's not exact measurement, but for hair color purposes, it makes it easier to break it down as being 30 grams as an ounce, 15 grams is half an ounce when you're doing hair color. So it's just easier that way when you're trying to convert formulations over, depending on how you're measuring them. So, Junior, I want you to bring me breakfast tomorrow. I see you making eggs and everything else. That looks really good. So we all want breakfast, right, guys? All of us want breakfast. What do you have, Ruben? A donut? Oh, okay. So we're going to have eggs and donuts tomorrow. Ruben's got donuts.
Hell no, nigga.
Sounds good. Donuts sound wonderful. All right. You guys have any
They're
questions?
gonna be all stale by tomorrow.
Well, you can buy fresh ones on your way in. Just kidding. So any questions? Everyone got it down for tomorrow? Everyone knows that we're going to be having a little quiz tomorrow, so no
You
surprise.
should just throw a test. Forget it. Throw the test.
Well, we're not done with the chapter yet, but I'm going
I
to
am.
on these first 5 chapters, though.
Oh. We're all big boys. We can handle a test. Let's do it.
Yes. All right. So I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.